Wicked, 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 wicked. Wicked tones, you know.
Not a lot of gyms have this press, but this press is good because it helps people understand, like, you obviously have to stand tall. You can't, like, I can't hold this out here and be like, you know what I mean? Looking like a fucking hobbit. So I'm gonna sit here and I can understand my weight is back now. Because the further this thing gets out, the less tension there is on the bar. I guess it wants to recoil back, but out here it's its lightest. You know what I mean? So I can hold here and I can put my weight back into the bench and I can lift my rib cage as high as I want. So to reinforce this high rib cage, high sternum position, not high shoulders, high sternum and weight back and my head back, I let the arms fall into me and I catch that weight against my back pad and I lean away. So my extension only gets to here, just like on the fly press, the fly I did over there. Full extension on a press isn't that, it's this. It's that, because I'm shoving shoulder back and I'm extending, right? So this is just something like, I don't know if other gyms have stuff like this, but any type of standing press like this is really good for people who have hard time understanding, like, elevating rib cage and hitting shots, right? Understanding how to get big through a shot and work those like intercostals and fucking get that rib cage up and get that chest lift. So if your gym owners see this piece, you should probably try and grab it. It's pretty good. It's just easier also because it's like when you're standing, obviously you're engaging core more because you're fucking standing up. You're not sitting in a seat and you can like displace weight. Here I have to fucking be actively aware of how high I'm staying, because if I relax for a second, it becomes this, and then it becomes this. So I have to fight the whole time I'm doing reps to stay up high here and let those arms rock out on their own and maintain this posture, right? So it's just like, that's a lot of people have an issue with that positioning simply because a lot of the stuff they do is either sitting or laying down. And you're not forced to, you can get lazy with posture. Laying down, I can get very lazy with posture, right? So that's why you see guys when they lay down on a bench, they can't get like this powerlifting style arch where they can like really recoil underneath their shoulders. So this is just a good option for people. I wouldn't even know how you would substitute this. You could do like a standing press, standing front press, and as long as you did it pretty light, you're understanding you're here. Obviously the angle's up now, but it's still reinforcing that elevated rib cage and like engaged core. Because literally like me standing here and locking this out, I shouldn't have put more weight on when I did this. Me standing here locked out here tall and understanding this positioning is literally the same as me on stage if I'm a bodybuilder when I'm through a shot here. So I'm maintaining this and throwing my arms up, right? So all I'm doing is mimicking stuff that transfers over to the pose of me being on stage. So it's not obviously the best thing maybe for your average person, but like guys who are competing who need help with posing, this is the kind of shit you should be doing, right? It's because it's really gonna carry over directly to the pose. It's why like athletes who compete in sports, they do specific drills in their off-season work or their fucking auxiliary work where they're like not training but they're doing weights and stuff. They do drills and lifts that directly complement skills that on the court or on the field or on the whatever, right? Because that's the point of the work, is to complement the end product, which is performance on the field, right? This is the same with bodybuilding. Our lifting is to complement the posing that takes place on stage. So the sooner you get that through your thick skull, the better bodybuilder you're gonna be. Because on stage, I don't come out and go, and then, like, you know what I mean? I'm not squeezed, I'm not like gonna hit my most muscular and go like this. I'm gonna understand how to grab through my lat, roll, lift my chest up, rib cage. All this stuff comes into play, right? So if you've never done it anywhere else, I don't know how you expect to do it on stage. Like if I've never practiced my jab in boxing, it's probably not gonna be good once I get in there against someone to fight them, right? Discussion last night with Fuad, it's like, he sees, like I see, there's like a reoccurring theme in bodybuilding and lifting where it's this idea of chasing a pump is no longer the goal. I didn't know that, to be honest. He told me like people are like saying that's not the way to do it and all this stuff, but I was like, I don't know any other way, so I don't even know what the point. I honestly don't know what the point of working out would be if I couldn't get a pump. I would literally just stop doing it. There'd be no point. Like, I'm just here to lift stuff, feel nothing, and leave the gym. Like, just gonna pick something up and then move it around. I don't feel a thing, but I think my chest is probably gonna grow from that. Like it's mind blowing to me. And then this idea, like, I'm sure everyone's aware, like when you talk to someone who's very scientific minded and you tell them about how something makes you feel, they almost look at you like they want to rip your head off. Like there's no feeling, man. It's either like it is or it isn't. This is like, I mean, there's measurables. Feeling I can't measure. They think, right? So we got into this discussion about like how do we go up with weight over time. I was basically like the weight over time is going to eventually diminish because you're only going to get so strong, right? So then what are the variables that are changing? So let's say we strive to get to 400 pounds on the bench press. We get there, we're just not getting any more. But when we first get there, we're moving the 400 pounds like in this like berserker mode where I'm boom, I'm getting it down and up, one rep. You know what I mean? As over time, the reps go up, but the fucking pace and the tempo still stays the same. It's just this overwhelming panic to get the weight off of me and just move it. Like that's the goal, is moving it. And then over like maybe years and years, say you're still doing that weight, the thing that would change over those years is your ability to move that weight under control and to, in the end of it, feel it. So I used to do 4 plates and just feel nothing and bounce it off my chest and throw it up. Now I control the negative, I almost settle, I squeeze out and I control the contraction and I feel my chest working with that 4 plates. So that's how you measure change in my eyes. You don't measure, it's not weight. Weight will go up because it needs to go up because it's just not heavy enough to stimulate a response. So we need to increase the weight. But once that weight is reaching a weight that's like, I can't control this anymore and I'm just flinging it, whether it's a bicep curl or a lateral raise or whatever, it's like, now why don't we get better at moving that maximum weight we can find and even dropping down and getting more control of the lower weights so that our control and our feeling of the higher weights gets better to elicit more contraction and more response from the muscle, right? So it blows my mind that people would consider like they're still consider the numbers they're hitting in the gym to be equating directly to results in the mirror, because they're not. It's not like a direct correlation. Like if I deadlift 600 pounds, I'll look in the mirror and I'll just be so fucking yoked, it's crazy. It's like, no, I won't. I just got better at, I just lifted that 600 pounds off the ground, but it didn't do anything for me, right? Or if I curl those 70-pound dumbbells and I'm just snapping them up like all these idiots you see, or they do these, like, it's almost like they go and they snap it, right? It's like, if you lower the weight to 40, 30, and understand how to curl correctly and like actually feel your bicep working, you're telling me that you're gonna get your workout's gonna be not gonna be better than it was when you're snapping 70s up like a complete idiot? You know what I mean? Like, so it does come down to feeling. Feeling, yes, is not measurable, it's individual. It's very like it's on the person to person basis how well I feel something, right? So I think that should be people's measure of how well they're doing in the gym and how well they're connecting to weight, is how well that they're mentally connecting to that muscle and that weight being lifted. And get out of this like this logbook shit like we always talk about. It's nonsense, man. Like if someone's tracking your progress for you from a remote location, you're not with the person every day, you know what I mean? Like they don't live near you. You're showing them that progress is happening. You'd be better off, they give you a program, let's say, and let's say you film it. Or film a couple of those sets that are like you deem the most important lifts, and let the person like give you feedback on how you're doing that set. Not like, oh, I just did like cable cross, like pec fly, and I just did as much as I could and jerked the thing around. but I can show you how I can do it better at a lower weight, and then we can gradually work up, right? That's what the measure should be, but all these coaches, they need to have something to sell to people. So it's like, this is my program. You're gonna incrementally go up, so in your mind, you're like, wow, I'm really improving. But those weak body parts, they're staying weak body parts, man. They're not changing. Odds are you're just getting bigger as an individual because you're moving a load and there's resistance, a muscle is building, but it's not building where you want it to. And it's probably gonna keep the building in areas you don't need to develop more and making other areas look like they lack even more, right? So just understand that. All these motherfuckers out here want to be Ferris, but there's only one Ferris. There's a lot to be said about people want to have like, they're so concerned with exercise selection and like, how do I, obviously you want to hit the muscle from all kinds of different angles. It's like kind of basically how a lot of people train. Just want to overload, kind of overstimulate and like really oversaturate and overpump the muscle. So we do that from different angles, different exercises, right? Obviously, we all do that. But there's nothing to say that like, say you've just learned how to basically feel your triceps, let's say on like a one arm press down. And you never really connected before because you're kind of like snapping and doing all this stuff, but now you're understanding like this transfer of weight, let's say, and this rocking and squeezing. So you're getting like an amazing contraction. Like it's fucking, you never felt that before. Don't stop that after 3 sets just because your program or whatever you're in your mind, oh, 3 sets of this, and I gotta do 4 sets of this. It's like, stick with that. There's no rule saying you can't do fucking 10 sets of that. Do fucking 15 for all I give a shit. Over fucking stimulate that tricep. If it's a feeling that you've never felt before and there's a contraction you've never had before, we want to reinforce that and you want to keep feeling that, and then you might be able to understand what this idea of a pump is. Because you're going to flood that muscle with so much blood and you're going to be able to contract and feel so well that that's more beneficial to you and your development than like, oh, I felt that pretty good, now I'm going to go over here and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with that. I'm going to figure that out. But I was doing so well over there. So this contraction, this feeling and this motion that I'm understanding here, I'm now going to do like, let's say a press down, and it's completely lost. Because now I'm thinking about other things I have to lock down, and it's like, just stick with what's working. It's not to say you have to do 10 sets. It's a little bit fucking ridiculous, but I'm saying like, if your plan was to do 3 or 4, there's nothing wrong with doing 5 or 6, or even doing more drops off that. Do you know what I mean? Or doing 1 drop, or doing a superset of like I do, like down and then overhead. It's kind of the same kind of contraction, right? I'm just saying, once you find stuff that you feel well and you connect with, don't abandon that stuff and make it like make them more staples in your program, because that's the stuff you're feeling and connecting with the best. Just because there's all these other exercises doesn't mean you have to do them. It's not a rule. Like, oh, my triceps won't, but my triceps will grow if I don't end off with rope push downs. It's like, I don't do rope push downs ever. Like barely fucking ever. Unless like that day I feel like, oh, I'm feeling like this angle I'm thinking of. But like in general, everyone who does rope stuff understands that my grip is sliding because I don't have a base, because the rope handles are too low for me to fire out effectively for me. I have to choke up. So it's like I'm losing grip. I'm thinking about my grip. I'm getting a little cramped up. So if I find areas where I can just rock on tricep and do it, then overload yourself and keep that shit in. Don't fucking take it out. You know what I mean? It should be like, that should be whatever you ended off feeling the best the session prior. Write that shit down in your logbook. Do that again immediately. Go right back to that, because that's what I felt the most and that's where I connected. Let's see if we can continue with this feeling and this contraction and getting that contraction again, so we can start the workout off on a high note and then transition into other lifts where I'm already feeling stuff, and that feeling and that contraction and that pumpness is going to carry over to other lifts. That's how you should be structuring your programs, not just arbitrarily picking like, these exercises are my go-to exercises for tricep growth. Like, yeah, for me, not for you. You know what I mean? Like you could even get here and change the angle. You see me doing this here and rocking down here. You might feel better here and understanding my ear goes up and I fire down more. So I have even more weight down in my arm, so I'm able to squeeze down. There's all kinds of angles I can take here and pressure I can make, right? It doesn't have to be like, and then my robot, like play with what you're doing, have fun in the gym, and understand that like the angle you feel is the angle that works best. It's not what's my angle. My angle may help you find your angle, but it's not going to be your angle. Be thankful for that, because if you had to find my angles, it means you got a fucked up shoulder, your neck's fucked, and you slept weird last night. You're just grumpy, so you don't want to be like me too much.